Right, good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of the show Scoreboard Reloaded, right on 32 FM 94.9. The station are filling the air with laughter. Of course, this is the second day in the month of January, and we are here to take you through all the interesting updates and making the rounds in the world of sports. French football returns this weekend, and it is Toulouse against France, the first off the evening. That's talking about Friday night football there in French football. And also in the Italian Serie A, it is Cagliari against an impressive AC Milan side later today. And in the Spanish La Liga, Rayo Vallecano will be up against 𝐃𝐈𝐒. Before we look at everything that is set to go down also this weekend, to that big game there in the English Premier League between Chelsea and Manchester City. We'll also take a look at everything that has happened during the course of the week at the African Cup of Nations. Well, in the early hours of today, we had the best 11 at the group stages of the African Cup of Nations rolled out. And of course, for Nigeria, maybe we can say that it's quite commendable and also appreciated as we have Nigeria as the head coach in the person of 𝐶𝐈𝐒𝐿, the head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, being named as the head coach of the group stages. And one thing I keep saying is, it's not about the start, but how well you finish. At the last edition of the African Cup of Nations, we know we didn't have that stellar group performance. We went all the way to the finals, but we came out short. In 2019 in Cameroon, we had a spectacular group phase also, but where did our journey end? The journey definitely was cut short in the round of 16 against Tunisia. But with Ademola Lookman also in the starting 11, we take a look at some players who also missed out on being in the 11. And one man, notably, happens to be 𝐿-𝐾𝐈𝐒, the Olympiacos forward, who definitely scored 2 bicycle kicks in the group stages. And of course, he missed out on that's the group stage 11. Well, we have Sadio Mane and Amad Diallo with Riyad Mahrez, who also has 3 goals in 3 games at the group stages of the African Cup of Nations. While in midfield, we also have Brahim Diaz, who also has 3 goals. In midfield, we have Baleba of Brighton and Hove Albion and Cameroon with Ademola Lookman. And in the defense line, Abdi of Tunisia, Edmond Tapsoba, we have Tuanzebe and Mazurai. And in the goalkeeping department, it is the legendary El Shenawi. Well, we saw El Shenawi giving a good performance against South Africa. That was in the match day 2 of the African Cup of Nations group stage games. But this is what we have as regards the best 11 from Morocco. But then we know that the games are coming in thick and fast for tomorrow. Through Tuesday, that's the 6th January, we would have the round of 16 fixtures. Once again, it is Mali against Tunisia, Senegal against Sudan, Egypt against Benin, Côte d'Ivoire against Burkina Faso, Morocco against Tanzania, South Africa against Cameroon, Algeria against DR Congo, Nigeria will be up against Mozambique. And also, we take a look at the English Premier League, the aftermath of yesterday's performance by Manchester City. At the Stadium of Light, the game ended 0-0. But for Manchester City, for many, they've said, oh, their performance this season has definitely been so good. But it came at a cost yesterday, 4 points behind Arsenal Football Club. So would you say it's an early advantage for the Gunners? You ask me, they've been there on different occasions. But will they come out victorious at this point in time? I have Peter with me in the studio. Dolakpo also walked in majestically into the studio. You know, maybe he's coming in when the whole world would notice. As an Arsenal fan for Dolakpo, I would love to take him on at the Manchester City's game. And before I talk to Peter about the African Cup of Nations, that's group stage best 11 that was rolled out in the early hours of today. But then, from the English Premier League fixtures or the encounter for yesterday, no victory as all the 4 games ended in a draw. But we only had one centre with the goals. That was the Shelwood Park, the game between Crystal Palace and Fulham Football Club. Good afternoon, Dolapo.
Good afternoon, SAMIES. Good afternoon to everyone who has joined us on the show. Good afternoon, Peter, as well. Well, about Sunderland and Manchester City, maybe something I probably saw coming, but then I was a little bit of feeling like Manchester City have what it takes to get all 3 points, especially when Sunderland have a whole lot of players out. at the AFCON, and also a few players out injured. One of them is Ballard, who wasn't so good for them at the back this season. Is out injured, and I thought maybe with the firepower Manchester City have at the moment, with 𝐶𝐈𝐒𝐿, who is a man on form, Erling Haaland, Phil Foden, they would be able to go to the Stadium of Light to get something out of there. But then they couldn't do that. They were not able to get anything. They just got 1 point, and now they are 4 points behind Arsenal Football Club. It's up to Arsenal now to just keep moving, because it all started here. The cheese started at the Stadium of after Arsenal lost against Villa, and Manchester City went ahead to defeat Sunderland, and that was since then 2 points. Manchester City have been following Arsenal, but right now they've dropped points at the Stadium of Light. When you look at the next few games, Manchester City
and Arsenal defeated Villa.
Yeah, Arsenal defeated Villa, and then now 4 points. Look at the games Manchester City have in front of them against Chelsea, Brighton, and Overhampton. Their games looks a bit tough compared to the games Arsenal have at the moment. You look at the next few games Arsenal is going to play. Yes, I understand they lost home and away to FC Bournemouth last season, but then when you look at Bournemouth, who have not won a single game since October last year, I don't think Bournemouth is a team on form or a team Arsenal should struggle against. With the players they have back, 𝐂𝐈𝐒 is back, 𝐷𝐿 is back, almost everybody in the team is back, Gabriel Magalhaes is back as well. So I feel like Arsenal have a good run of games, and they've been in this position before. They've been here, and for the past 3 seasons now, a lot of people would say they are close. I would say last season they were not close. They were not challenging for the title last season. It was just too easy for Liverpool to run. For the past 2 seasons, they've been in this same situation with Pep Guardiola. So they are a bit experienced now, and I feel like they can keep up this team, and they might just go on at the end of the season to win the league. They just need to keep on winning their game, and they should also have it at the back of their mind. Dropping the points now, especially if you lose a game, puts more pressure on you, because it remains 1 point, and at that point in time, it becomes very hard. So they need to keep on winning and winning and winning and winning and see where it takes them to.
Well, now before I take on Peter, have you ever experienced or witnessed what happened yesterday? New Year, that's game D in the English Premier League, where all the 4 games ended in a draw. And as a matter of fact, 3 centers have failed to provide the goals. Just one, that was Jean-Philippe Mateta scoring the 4th goal before Tom Kiney scored the equalizer for Fulham Football Club against that's Crystal Palace. But in the other games, Brentford against Tottenham 0-0, and a return for Thomas Frank at 2 at the GTEC Stadium, where the fans also were booing. That's Tottenham fans were booing Tottenham Football Club, saying the club is boring, what the play is boring. And also Leeds against the Liverpool Football Club. Yes, I was able to watch that. It was all about the missed chances also at both ends, and also 𝐒𝐿𝐿 standing his feet, not wanting to be booked for assimilation, and also everything just coming in, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin starting off the bench, and looking like a man who actually will score in his 7th consecutive game, but that just didn't happen, as it was adjudged to be offside. So all the 4 games ended in a draw. Have you ever witnessed something like that?
No, I don't think I've ever seen something like that. 4 games on a day, and everything ending in a draw. And you look at it, especially the early kick of the Liverpool game against Leeds United, a game where a whole lot of people, including me, was expecting goals. And at the end of the day, there were no goals in that game as well. Crystal Palace against Brentford was the only one we saw goals. Spurs got they had a chance to win the game early on. I still don't understand what Xavi Simons was trying to do with that cross late on in the game. I've not seen any game like that, any game week like that. On the day, 4 games ending in a draw. I don't think I've ever experienced it. Maybe Peter might have. He have seen more games than me, but I've never seen that in my career.
All right, thank you, Dolapo. And now to you, Peter. Good afternoon. And of course, it is the time to talk about sporting stories. But going by what Dolapo said before, I take you on the African Cup of Nations. Just as it's obvious to many, have you experienced something like that in the history of the English Premier League?
Well, thank you for having me, SAMIES. I think I watched the 4 games yesterday, and it was amazing that when the screen came up just to show us how the games went down on Thursday evening, and you saw that the only goal that came in London at Selhurst Park between Palace and Fulham, and to think that the game between Liverpool and Leeds never did. the other London derby also never did, and then the Stadium of Light, there was no light. Maybe that will interest Sunderland because they want to hold on to them not conceding and not losing a game at home. So never been, but there are 4 games. But don't forget, those were just a wrap from the 6 games that we saw on the 30th of December. So if you have to put in context the 10 games built for that match day, then we might be saying, well, there's no big deal. But the big deal is that you went go into a match day with Liverpool and Manchester City playing, and then there's no goal. I think that was amazing for me also.
Well, it's been amazing. Now let's talk about the African Cup of Nations, where we know the games are set to come in thick and fast, starting from tomorrow. But after the performance in which quite a number of sides, or let's say the last 16 sides remaining this year's edition of the African Cup of Nations gave there in Morocco, there have been 11 players who have been termed to be the best of the pack. But that is subjective, as we use that in the studio here. It is subjective. But then you look at some notable omissions from that list. Like I mentioned, there is no room for 𝐿𝐾𝐈𝐒 in that the starting 11. Yeah. But we've seen Ademola Lookman 2 goals, 2 assists. We've also seen Riyad Mahrez with 3 goals, 0 assists. Brahim Diaz 3 goals, also 0 assists. Baleba, I'm not sure he has scored any goal, but maybe he has given a good performance. But then it's also there's a big question mark about the starting 11. But if you would change anything, what would you have changed from that 11 released by the Confederation of African Football?
I think seeing that 11 just shows that CAF just went and picked across national teams. You hardly see, there's none that came from 2. Brahim Diaz, you mentioned. 2 players? Yes, Brahim Diaz.
And Mazare.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just talking about Brahim Diaz and Ademola Lookman. In it, the man who likes to score the overhead kick wasn't picked. Fairly enough, I think wasn't bad. The 11. See, there's no way you come up with 11 and you don't have people question why this is not there. Don't forget, number is 11, and so even if we have 22 best, we have to find a way to put it down to 11. So 11 works for CAF, and that is 11 also work for me. It doesn't get me really talking. It's just the group stage, so there's no really anything surprise in that list. Every one of them deserve. Carlos Baleba has been very useful for Cameroon. Performance has been good than what I saw with him with Brighton. He has been one of the rock in terms of the Indomitable Lions, how they've performed so far at this African Cup. So for me, pretty well, pretty good. Goalkeeper Eshanawi, the Egyptian 38-year-old man. Also in this one, I would have wished that Lucas Zidane, but because he was not in goal for that last game, so I would have said because he hasn't considered. The team have considered just one. He hasn't considered, but like I said, this 11 is not bad for me.
What about 𝐶𝐾𝐈𝐒 being the coach of the group stages?
Again, maybe that's a bit. A bit.
2 managers. If we go by contest, just 2 managers and 2 national teams finished the group stages with maximum points. And in finishing the group stages with maximum points, we happen to score the most goals as well, 8.
Okay, so sit it.
All right. Well, earlier this morning, I actually played the words. Okay, Dalako has something to say.
Just one name that is missing in this lineup, and I feel like it should have been missing, is All-Star from South Africa. 2 goals, 2 assists as well, and playing
2 goals.
2 goals and 2
that's
assists
true.
as well. I understand that Amad Diallo has been good, but then these are the 2 best strikers we've probably seen at this. 𝐿𝐾𝐈𝐒 and All-Star. And it's a bit funny when I saw the lineup earlier this morning. I was looking at it, and those 2 names were missing. I don't think Carlos Baleba as well deserves to be here. Yes, South Africa, Cameroon has been good, but then what has it done specially for the Cameroonian national team? not that they don't concede goals, they conceded goals as well. And yes, I understand that they won games that you probably think, okay, they shouldn't have won. But then was it really his impact? I watched Cameroon. I watched 2 of the Cameroon games, and I don't think it was the key man for them. It was not really as good as many people have been painting him to be in this competition. So for me, I feel like Carlos Baleba shouldn't be in this team. Carlos Baleba is nothing close to being in this team, and maybe they should have found a way to fix either a 𝐃𝐈𝐒 or Life Foster into this team. For me personally, I feel like this lineup is just CAF just picking and just trying to unpick from every national team like Peter said, and it does not speak well for the competition.
All right, that's talking about the group stages. Players named for the starting 11 of the African Cup of Nations. But then let's quickly talk about Gabon. Once again, we are yesterday from the aftermath of the team being suspended. Paul Kesani, the 40-year-old, the former skipper of the Panthers, he has been named the country's new Minister of Sport. And after the disbandment of the national team and the sidelining of Premier Aubameyang, the authorities are drawing a clear line, urging the Football Federation to step up, restore order, and be accountable for its actions. But what does this mean for the future of Premier Aubameyang? Remember that he has retired, or he was retired at a point with the national team. And he came out of retirement. I played quite a few number of games for them. And this is the situation of things for the former Arsenal, Barcelona, AC Milan striker, Borussia Dortmund striker at this point in time. Should he just retire? Because I was expecting him to actually put something on social media since yesterday, and what I saw from him was his 2025 wrap.
Well, that's where these things work. One of them is when you leave and you return. It reminds me of Lionel Messi, when he retired and they have to go beg him for him to come back, and when he came back, you saw what happened. Season played out for Pierre. Yes, season worked out for Pierre Aubameyang. Almost got them to the World Cup. Couldn't. I remember he scored about 4 goals in one of the penultimate game at the World Cup qualifier. So and then they have to play in the continental playoff against the Super Eagles, where they could not get the result against the Eagles. Went to the Nations Cup. Man didn't play 2 games, he only played 1. The last one, really don't know what happened because he was not even on the bench. So it's really a sad one. It's 37-38. But one thing you can't take away from the Aubameyang family is that he captained the side, played for the side. His father also did. So they've done their bit. Let's see where Gabon go from here.
Let's go straight into the European scene and talk about the Chelsea Football Club. From the outstart of, from the departure of that's the Italian Enzo Maresca. Well, the Strasbourg manager Liam Rossini, like we mentioned yesterday, is the leading contender for the Chelsea job. But the former Leicester City boss, Maresca, who left his role as Chelsea's head coach yesterday amid internal tensions with the club's hierarchy and ownership. But then, Rossini's current employers are owned by investment vehicle Blueco, the consortium set up to purchase Chelsea in 2022. Now, for Rossini, was sacked by All City right after his side struggled to make the playoffs that season. That was last season, 2 seasons ago. But here he is now, more like a man destined for a leap, leaving All City to join Strasbourg, where they finished 7th last season, and presently they occupy the 7th position there in the French league. And at this point, it's not the only name on the list now. We have names like Adone Raola is on the list. We have that's Marco Silva is also on the list. Roberto De Zerbi is on the list, and just maybe Cesc Fabregas also might be on the list as one of those managers set to take over the reins at the Chelsea Football Club. But we look at all of these things and just question it about who the best head coach. No, let us use manager now. Who the best head coach would be for Chelsea Football Club? We know Chelsea as an institution or as a franchise that on a normal day, you win. You come into the Chelsea Football Club setup and then you win games, you win titles. But in the recent years, 2 managers, they've been unable to win titles with Chelsea Football Club. But going ahead now, how many tested and trusted managers do we even have in the world of football that can deliver for Chelsea Football Club?
Well, for me, I feel like they don't want, with the way they've been bringing in coaches, the Blue Co, the 𝐔𝐈𝐒 of this world, and Todd Boehly, it looks like they just want to bring in coaches that can work for them, not coaches that is experienced or coaches that has won something. We all saw where Enzo Maresca was coming from. He's literally someone you can say many people don't know. And then he came on, he won them the Conference League, he won them the FIFA Club World Cup, and he played well. Tactically, it looks like a coach that is sound. When you look at almost all of these coaches that is being listed here, Ndoni Raola, 𝐒𝐻 have showed what he can do. Well, in recent weeks or in recent months, things have not been going well for him at AFC Bournemouth. You look at the Strasbourg coach. Yes, I understand that he is good, but then look at, has he done anything exceptional at Strasbourg? I don't think so. He finished 7th last season, and this season you probably expect them to have performed better, but they are struggling one way or the other in the French League on this season as well. Lens is currently the team on top of the table, and they're 7th. At the point in time last season they were 3rd. At the point in time they were 4th before they flattered and got themselves to the 7th. They were talks of will they get into the Champions League position. So I feel like it might just be the best bet for the Chelsea owners, because you understand I was going through his press conference before his game this weekend with Strasbourg, where he was saying it's the DNA of both clubs, and both clubs have things together. So he understands the DNA of bringing in players that you might not be able to work with again in the next few weeks. He understands the DNA of bringing in any players, and he's not a big coach at the moment that they can that can tell them this is what I want. They can easily tell him this is what we want you to do, and he will go there. The likes of Ndoni Raola might want to stand up on I want my career, or you leave me where I am. Roberto De Zerbi would never. He won't take this type of project, because this was one of the reasons why he left Brighton and Hove Albion at the end of the day. And there he still had some powers. He was still able to talk of I want these players, I want this. The only issue he had then was you don't sell this player, try to keep him. So at the moment, I don't think Roberto De Zerbi would be the one to come into this thing. But for me personally, with the way they want to settle, I feel like the best person they can probably go for is to go for the Spaniard, Xavi Hernandez. I feel so. I felt like Xavi performed a bit well when he was at Barcelona. And for a team, or for owners like the owners at Chelsea that does not really ask for more, I don't think they ask you for more. All they want you to do is just to get them get their players playing well and let them do their business. I don't think they really care about the trophies. I don't think they care. So someone like Xavi Hernandez can come in and give them the growth of players. We saw what he did at Barcelona, Lamine Yamal, Balde, and many players like that. So he can help them grow their players and increase the avenue that they want to increase, which is money. So it will probably pay them. Maybe on field, the Chelsea fans might not really like it, because he might lose games, he might not play well sometimes, but then the owners would gain, and that is what I feel like they want.
That's for Chelsea Football Club. And since we are still talking about moves and transfers now, for Tottenham Football Club, they are set to be without Brennan Johnson, and it is said that Brennan Johnson is also likely to be included in Crystal Palace squad to face Newcastle. That's on Sunday, after finalizing the club record £35 million a move from Tottenham Football Club. So this is what it looks like now for Tottenham. In the last 3 years, they've lost 3 of their top scorers: Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, and Brennan Johnson. So we actually move away from that now and talk about some football games. Well, what a delight it is also in the Italian Serie A, as we are set to have some games where AC Milan, they would actually want to continue where they left off before the break, to actually continue with their solid form. They are second on the log with 35 points, and they would be in action later tonight. That's against the Cagliari. But then in French football, Toulouse against Lens, Rayo Vallecano against the Getafe. They're in the Spanish La Liga. And on Saturday, it's all about the actions, starting from the African scene, and also to English football, to French football, and also to Italian football and Spanish football once again. But just before we leave the show also, let's quickly discuss about this one, Peter. In the world of tennis, the 7-time Grand Slam champion, that's in the WTA category, in Venus Williams.
Yeah.
She has been given a wild card to play at the Australian Open once again. And then it just baffles me. She gets there. She doesn't perform. She doesn't go past the first round or the second round. And she's out of the competition. Mind you, at this year's Australian Open, she will be 46 years old.
Well, at the moment, she's 45, but at the point in time this year, she'll be 46. You mentioned his white card. Is the name Venus Williams. She's not going into the first Grand Slam of the year looking to win. If it happens, that will be breaking the all odds in this one. So she's not going there to win. She's catching fun now as we speak, just to keep body and soul. 7th time, like you did mention. So organizers they will want someone who will probably give them the headline. Imagine you saying the 45-year-old Venus Williams, 7-time Grand Slam winner. I mean, part of this year's, and of course she will become the oldest woman ever to play in the Grand Slam. So everything looks like it's not about her winning. It's not about her winning. SAMIES, sit down now. That's what they want you to do. They got you talking. If that was Eugenia Bouchard, the Canadian who's going to play, you might not talk about it. You might just talk it in passing. But because it's Venus Williams.
No, this is because there's been a reoccurrence also about it. Maybe the last 3 years, she has always been given a wild card.
She will get wild card. Not only in the Grand Slam, she gets wild card in a few of the WTAs around the US and a few of the in the American. So it's not big deal. It's not big deal, SAMIES. I'm happy to see her. Again, the question is, can she make it around the first, second round? I doubt it. And guess what? With her current ranking, she'll be playing against the top girls in the opening stages of the Grand Slam. Venus doesn't care. I don't either. I want to see her enjoy herself, put a smile on her face. Let her enjoy this thing, SAMIES, now.
All right, still talking about tennis also. We have this one where Stefanos Tsitsipas also eyes a fresh start in 2026 after that injury in 2025. Just before we leave the world of football, the show this afternoon, from the press conference that went down, Arsenal, Mikel Arteta has confirmed that Riccardo Calafiori and Christian Mosquera would be out of the clash against Bournemouth later this weekend. Still a bit of question mark surrounding Declan Rice. But we'll come later tomorrow, that's by 3 p.m. the pitch, to give you the latest updates from the world of football. And then we have that conversation as regards the game set to go down on the African scene before the 4 p.m. kickoff. We are partners, the BBC, would give us the commentary for the game between Brighton and Burnley and the Wolverhampton Wanderers against West Ham Football Club. I've done this alongside Peter and Dolakwa. I am SAMIES, your sports captain. I say to enjoy the rest of the day, and bye for now.